Okay, well, here's the question that I have for you, Nariana Johnson. This is the question that I have. Why am I obligated to worship God? You're
Are
on,
you obligated?
Nariana.
How you
Yeah,
doing today?
good. How are you?
So
So,
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
good, good.
Depending on the religion that you're talking about, if you're going through Christianity, God in the Bible says that He chose you. You didn't choose Him. So a
Okay.
lot of these people are saying the obligation for what they're doing, but it's like a marriage. Your obligation is that you want to participate in this relationship or not. In that
Mm.
perspective,
No,
okay. So
that's a great analogy. Yeah, that's a great analogy. Now is so if we're comparing a marriage to a relationship with God, um, when did I ever approach God and say, "Hey, how you doing, God? Let's have a relationship."
no. He
Or,
approached you. He chose you.
yeah, He
That's
chose
yeah.
me, but I didn't have a choice in the matter, right?
Nope.
Okay, so then in that case,
And as far as if
so
he didn't chose you, think about it like this: he didn't choose everybody either, right? Cain and Abel.
yeah,
He chose Abel over Cain, right? Like
yeah,
he liked what he had to offer him over what
okay.
Cain did, right? So what
Wait.
happened?
So then in a marriage,
Cain
though,
killed him.
yeah. So in a marriage, then because then that sounds a lot like a forced marriage. Like
What's that?
if I go choose my wife, you didn't choose
Well, I
wife,
mean,
you didn't
when he
wifey, you didn't
goes,
choose me. I chose you. Therefore,
what what
you are obligated to me.
what's the purpose of marriage? Like
The
today, we've
purpose
gone to like a form without function. Like, what's the function of a marriage? What's a functional marriage look like?
it now, in my view, um, it is a it is a it is a proclamation of commitment to the person that I love for the rest of my life, out loud
Yeah.
to everybody. I'm telling everybody, I love this person. I am devoted and faithful to this person for the rest of my life. That's me telling everybody out loud. And so we bound that in legality, in all different ways. So,
Now,
we close
what
the
do you
loop.
think God's purpose? What do you think God's purpose for marriage is?
I am honestly, I don't know, because it depends. Now it depends which God you're talking about. Number one, so which God,
Well,
which religion, all that stuff.
we're gonna go from the Bible since I know you were talked about Hinduism, but you had mentioned that you weren't really well versed on it. So I'm gonna take it from a
Mm-hmm.
Christian perspective. But I can, I'm very well versed in four of the top five most popular religions. So I can give you a perception off of the four.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh,
Well, I think in terms of marriage, I don't want to stray too far from what we're talking about here. Because if you're now, are you saying that I'm not obligated to worship God, or am I obligated to worship God? I didn't get a clear answer on
I
that.
mean, did God come to you?
Did God come to me? In my mind,
Did
no,
God? No,
because there
because
is no
okay, let me
God,
give you an
and I
example.
don't believe there is a God.
Let me give
So
you an
no.
example. So there's a holy man, right? And there's a big flood coming, and
Mm-hmm.
some people come and tell him they're like, hey, we got a van, we can get out of here. We grab all your stuff. And he says, no, I'm gonna wait for God to save me. Later on,
Okay.
the water's getting kind of high. He's on his roof. There's some rafts coming by. They say, jump in. We'll take you to safety. He says, no, I'm gonna wait for God to save me. Later on, some helicopters come by and he's on his roof and he's about to be enveloped by water and they're trying to save him. He tells them, he says, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. Later on, he's in heaven. He's there with Jesus and all the other prophets, and he's asking him a question. He says, hey, so God, I waited for you, but you just never came. He said, listen, I sent those people in the van, I sent those people in the raft, I sent the helicopter. You know what I mean? So the perspective of what you're saying he never came to him. Everybody that comes on here and that tells you that God is for you,
Mm-hmm.
that's God's way of sending it. He didn't even send a good one. The last guy wasn't really well versed, probably hasn't read the Bible, didn't give a good argument
Okay.
for why you're obligated
So
to.
he
But
sent
he sent
so
it.
he'd be the equivalent of somebody coming to me with a frayed rope. That's like broken or something like
Yeah,
that. Is that what you're saying? Okay, okay.
it was a weak argument. It was a weak argument, but he stood.
Oh
You know,
man.
he had the courage to
Hey,
stand up to somebody and say
and
something like that.
and if he's in here
That should
still,
give you a little bit.
I'm not cracking on him. I was just kind of making a funny based on what you were saying.
Well, no, but
Okay.
like you
All
gotta
right.
treat him. And the thing is you gotta treat it equal and opposite. You gotta treat him as
Mm,
equal to anybody else that would
okay.
come, I say, in the
I
name of God.
wasn't,
But then,
yeah, uncovering. I wasn't making fun of you at all. I was just kind of expanding on what Nariana was saying. So please don't take it personally. It wasn't like that.
no offense,
And
you didn't make a
I've
good
got,
argument.
well, no, I don't have any judgment against it. I mean, his argument was his argument.
No,
So
I got judgment.
that's all I'm
I'm gonna
saying.
be
Yeah.
honest. He didn't make a good argument, but I'm not trying to be
Mm,
mean to him. That's a judgment,
yeah.
right? I'm making an
Yeah. Yeah.
assertion of
Yeah.
judgment,
Oh no,
but
I'm
it's
not
you
judging at
know
all. But yeah, you're allowed to do that. You're the guest. You're you. You know, I'm just saying I
you gave
didn't.
him the
And
opportunity to come back and think about his answer,
mhm,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
I'm not trying to hate on him, but I say like if you're gonna come up and argue with somebody, be a little bit
Okay.
well versed.
Well, from that perspective, because if you're still saying that, you're saying all these people are telling me this, and I would say then that, well, number one, how do y'all know I need rescuing? And number two, what if everyone looks like a broken frayed rope to me?
Everyone. The first thing that's gonna give you
Every
a
rescuer,
problem.
yeah, because you're
Yeah,
saying
the first
helicopter.
problem
I
is
sent you a helicopter. I sent you a boat. I
yeah.
sent you a van. And what if everyone, let's just assume that I need rescuing, and it looks like a broken frayed rope, and I'm like, man, this isn't gonna hold me. I'm
Yeah.
gonna fall right into the water. Yeah, why would I grab that? Send something better.
You can
You know.
tell because they say believe.
Mm,
You know what belief means? Belief means that I want you to believe. I want you to know something and confirm it's true without confirming it's true. So they want
yeah.
you to, and then they want to tie it in with faith. And it's like, wait a minute. What is faith? But how do you even judge what somebody's got good faith or not? Right? If they've got
Mm,
strong faith or they got weak faith, right? And
mm,
it's their adherence to what God says. God says, "If you love me, do my commandments." You go through what God command the people to do,
okay.
and it's like, well, what do I get out of what God's telling me to do? He says, don't kill. He says, don't covet another man's wife. He goes through
Mm-hmm.
lists of things that he says, don't do. Right? Why
Okay.
does he want me not to do that? And that's what he wants you to
Okay.
do is meditate on what he's commanding. And the basis of it is it makes you a better human being. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
So,
Like,
okay. So let me ask you this, because that's an interesting. You bring up faith, and you said now is how exactly is faith tied to God?
oh, they want to tie it into belief, right?
They want to tie it
Like
into
a
belief. Yeah.
belief and faith are equivocal almost. Like it's something that I call it fugazi. Like some people believe in Santa Claus. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's belief in something you can't prove. It is equal
Mm-hmm.
to God. Like you can't. You're not going to sit here and prove God, right? That's
Okay.
otherwise. If we were sitting here and somebody had the solution to what God is, now, what
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this, the problem with Christian religion is it's an impersonal religion. And that in lies the problem. Now, if you were to go from a different perspective, they would say that God is unimaginable by somebody that is limited. So you have a
Mm-hmm.
limited amount of knowledge, right? We're restricted on what we know or what we can see in our perceivable future. God has no limit. So the good answer would be the perfect answer would be that it's impossible for you to understand God.
It's
And
impossible for me to understand God. Okay. So
should lie your curiosity. What is there
okay.
that I can never understand completely?
Okay.
That's basic
So
curiosity, right?
all right. All right. So here, let's focus on that because it's impossible to understand God. Now,
Yep.
because it sounds like you were going to do like a comparison of religions, and honestly, we don't have time for that because there's a lot of religions we can go all day on.
I slipped it
But
in there. I slipped it in there.
okay, all right. So we're gonna move away from that just because of time. So I want to focus on God is impossible to understand, and um, what would you say then is how would we know what God? So then, how can people possibly tell me what God is if they don't understand it?
Aha. That is the actual question, and this is
Hmm.
where Jesus
Or
becomes the
who
key
God
point.
is. Yeah. What or
So,
who God
in
is.
order for you to know God, first you got to find somebody that already knows Him, right? Because it'd be
Wait a
like
minute.
you trying
Hold
to.
on.
You
Whoa, whoa,
don't know
whoa,
me,
whoa. Wait,
right?
wait, 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 wait. Yes, yes, yes. I know you. Wait, 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 wait. Because you just said God is impossible to understand, but now you're saying,
Yep.
well, you got to go find somebody who knows God. Well, wait, wait, wait,
Exactly.
wait. How
Exactly.
does it exactly that work? If God is impossible, which means not possible, not ever happening, but now you're saying, but there is someone who know, at least one person who knows who God is.
Well, there's not just one person. There are people, but you got to
I said
find
at
somebody
least.
at
Yeah,
least.
at least one person.
I don't know.
Because okay. Well, do you see how those two statements contradict? When you say it's impossible to know God, who God
Yep.
is, but then to say, but go to somebody who knows who God is.
Yeah.
That's
Is
those
it possible to walk on water?
it in my mind, no, it is not possible.
But
Actually, no,
you
not
know of
not quite
people
true.
who
No,
have
to
walked
walk.
on water, right?
Who say they've walked on water.
Well, they say Jesus walked on water. You were when I first came on, you were referencing a person in India that was some kind of
He
guru
says
that.
he walks on water. Yeah, he
Yeah.
says he walks on water. Yeah. But I don't believe
Now,
he does.
would that make you, if you saw that, would you believe in whatever God that he said was God?
If I saw that,
Yeah.
not right away. I would verify that he could walk on water. I would make him.
Exactly.
I would have him go walk on all different types of water. We would control the conditions in which he can walk underwater, walk on water. Because if he can walk on water anytime he wants, that means he can walk on any body of water, right? So
Yeah.
I want to make sure there's no little hidden platforms underneath him, or
Yep.
see-through
You're gonna
glass.
test him.
I'm going to test him. Exactly. I'm going to test it,
You're
and
gonna
I'm going to
test his
verify it,
faith.
and I'm going to see if it's. I'm going to test if he can do it. I'm gonna test if to
Exactly.
make sure he's not a fraud. That he says he actually does what he says he can do. I'm
Now,
gonna
at
test
the
that. Yeah.
end, say at the end, you test him in every point, not just this one. He says he can bring the dead back to life. He can get rid of
Mm-hmm.
diseases. He can
Mm-hmm.
cure blindness. You test him on everything. Now, after all that, you have nothing else you can do but submit to your teacher, right?
Well, of course, of
This
course.
person
That
that
would
says
be.
he has
It
a
would be.
relationship with God, right?
Well, yeah, it'd be foolish to test him. He passes all these tests, and then me saying, "Well, I still don't believe it." That's foolishness. No, I wouldn't do that.
See,
Okay.
this is this disciplic succession that Jesus set up. He set up disciples, and then he told his disciples that they received the same gift that he had. So if you got
Mm-hmm.
a problem with the religion, if you're an atheist, the problem is not with God. The problem is that you have not received anybody that knows him. It'd be like me.
Oh,
You know nothing
that's a
about
that's
me,
a
right?
that's a big stretch. That's a big
No, no,
stretch.
no.
I
Because
wouldn't.
remember,
I
we
wouldn't.
started out, God chose you. You didn't choose God. God
Yeah.
chose you,
Well, that's an
right?
assumption you made. I don't believe that at all, and you haven't demonstrated how that's true.
Well, so to
So,
first
what's
for
your
you to be
well?
able to
Let me
learn,
stop you
you
right
have to
there.
submit.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you right there. If
Okay.
we're gonna make that truth claim, what's your evidence of that?
Well, wait a minute. What truth? What do you mean?
You said God chose you. What's your evidence of that?
That God chose me personally?
Or chose me? You said to me, quote unquote, God chose you. So I'm assuming you're
Okay,
talking
okay.
about me.
So the
So what
ones
is your
that
evidence
God
of that?
chose in the Bible, He sent somebody to go be their teacher, right? He sent Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Jesus
Mm-hmm.
discipled 12 and He sent them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the end of the books of Paul, they say even at this time, I think Paul's in jail at that time. He says there's 5,000 who have not bowed to the image of Baal, which is that's one of the commandments that he says don't worship
Okay.
other gods, right? So
Okay.
there's at least 5,000 at the end of the Bible that have received this notion. They're out there. The question is how come they have not come to you? That's the question. Why haven't God sent
No.
somebody to you?
No,
Why
that's not
didn't
my
He send
question.
somebody to you?
No, my question is, I don't know. I mean, and the thing is I don't think he sent anybody because I don't think God exists. So
Because
I
it says
I'm
it in the
not
Bible. It says this.
okay.
It says you have not because you ask not. And it says, and you ask not because you ask in vain. As an atheist, if you go to a person that knows religion and you submit to them, how can you possibly submit to a teacher to learn what you need to learn, or what you're saying
Mm,
that you're saying, you want to be, understand what this religion is or what your obligation to God is, right? But the keys to get there is first you must
all
submit
right.
yourself to somebody that already
Okay,
has a
Nariana, I got to
relationship with.
stop you right there. I got to stop you right
Oh,
there.
no
Sorry.
problem. No problem.
Yeah, because I'm still not hearing the answer to my question. What is your evidence that God chose me? I'm still not hearing
Well,
that.
he's the answer is that when you're ready, he will send you somebody to build that relationship up, to have a
Okay,
foundation with.
that's it's still not. That's
And
still
the
not
question is that
answering my question.
if he hasn't come to you, it's because you're too enticed into what your material senses or your enjoyment of this earth. You're having too much fun down here for you to want to even to take that first step. Because if you
Hmm.
take one step to him, he takes 9 or something towards you, right?
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, are you saying then that all the years that I studied the Bible, all the years that when I wanted to go into the priesthood, all the years that I spent in other churches, talking to people, doing things in the name of God, you're saying that wasn't a step?
Did you see the guy? Did you see Jesus, or did you see the
Mm.
likeness of Jesus in
All
any of
right.
those people?
Here's the thing. You're kind of
That,
answering a question with a question, and so I really would appreciate if you'd answer my question. So yes or no
I'm trying to
is
answer it.
well, it's a
I'm
yes
trying
or
to
no
answer it.
question, right? Okay. Yes, I did take a step, or no, I did not take a step.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. That's what I'm saying.
Not
Did you see
necessarily.
Jesus? Did you see the likeness of Jesus? Were any of those people in your qualifications, were they
I thought
Christians? When you tested their
Jolosky,
faith like you would do Jesus, right? Did you test their
Jolosky,
faith?
this isn't a debate. Um, did I test their faith? So in many ways, yes, and I'm actually testing people's faith now.
Okay.
So yes, in many ways, I did. So I would say yes, I did. Now, are you saying
And
that's
you
a
saw,
requirement
oh,
that
if the thing
I
is
have to
this,
test people's faith?
if you're calling yourself a Christian, you should see Christ in that person. And that's the problem. If you're following blindly somebody that you don't even think is a godly person, you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at him, you're like, well, he's over here doing this, this, and this, man. I don't see that as something that somebody that would be hanging around with Jesus would do. Right? It would get in between them and God, or them
Okay.
in their relationship, right? So
Okay.
if you didn't authenticate any of these people and you just go into church randomly, you just go to a
All
random
right.
church, I'm gonna find God here.
Okay. I think we're kind of drifting. We've drifted way off the reason why I brought you up here. So I got to pull it all the way back. And
Okay.
so um, what I asked you was, why am I obligated to worship God? And I haven't heard a straight answer from you. So, straight answer would be, you're obligated because, and then make the statement. And I haven't heard that from you. You've answered questions with questions, and we've kind of convoluted things. So let's get
I
back
guess
to
to
that
answer
question.
it the answer it the most simplest way, because it is the purpose of life. That
It
is the
is the
one
purpose
true purpose of life.
of that's the one true purpose of life. Okay, and how do we
The
know
only
this?
purpose of life. What?
Okay, what's your evidence of that?
Because everything else here has a beginning and an end. It's not spiritual. Everything that we see in front of us has a beginning
Everything.
and an end. The only
Okay,
thing
because
that does not have a beginning and an end is your relationship with God, right?
okay, so if everything has a beginning and an end, I'm still not sure why that obligates me to worship a God.
Because the
Because
only
I agree
what
with
do you
you,
mean? Why
everything
does
does
that
have a
obligate
beginning
you?
and end. Yeah, why does that obligate me? Why should I care about that? Why should I care that everything has a beginning and end? What does that have to do with worshiping a God? How does that relate?
Well, your life here will end. The question is what's going to happen after I leave wherever I'm at right now, right?
Okay. Okay. And again, why should I care about that?
Because that is the purpose of life. That's the whole reason that
The
we're down here in
purpose
the
of
first place.
the purpose of
Yeah.
life is because we're going to go someplace else.
No, no. The purpose of life is that we've been separated. You're thinking about the
Purpose of
exciting
life.
incident is that we're here, right? The exciting incident is that we ended up here. Like why are we
Yeah.
in a place that has all these problems? Like, can you really enjoy your life right now? like everything you have around you, like you still have to go to work, or even if you had
Mhm.
wealth, the richest person I knew was the loneliest person because
Mhm.
he couldn't trust anybody around him. Everybody was just, he's like, well, are you just here because of my money? Or are you actually here because you enjoy my company?
Mhm.
So all these things are, there's not a full 100% enjoyment in any of these things, right? So,
Okay.
well, if you are to follow that through, well, is there any place that I can enjoy unlimitless without restrictions, without there being a little bit of discomfort and a lot of enjoyment, or a lot of enjoyment, and a little bit of discomfort?
Well, that all
There
sounds
has to be
great.
something, right?
Yeah, that sounds like a great deal. So why aren't we there now?
Because you have desires to do things that are, I guess we could say, perverted.
Okay, so we have perverted desires. So let me kind of understand this. Um, so God put me here because I have perverted desires. That's
No, no,
why I
no.
was born here.
God created a place where you could do think of it like a father. Your father still wants you to be happy, right? But
Right,
like you might
right,
want to do something in the house that he's not comfortable with. He's like, listen,
right.
you can get married and all, but listen, you're not doing that stuff in the house. You got to have
Uh
your
huh.
own house. He gave you your own place. He said, I'm
Uh,
still here, but
yeah.
I'm gonna give you a place where you can be your own God. Because that's
Okay.
essentially the biggest problem that we have, is that we want to be God ourselves. That's the big.
Okay.
If you notice, the biggest problem everybody has is they're their own God. They worship
Okay.
themselves. They don't worship
Okay.
nobody else.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Then, because what I'm wondering is why not just cut out the middleman? Why not just make me born in heaven?
What? Well, I mean, if you, I
Yeah.
mean,
Why
yeah,
not?
but
Why not just start there? Why not just start there?
well,
I mean,
in the
if that's a
perspective
place
of
I could
heaven.
go, why can't I just be there? Why did I have to come here and then go to heaven? Why?
Oh, because you wanted to do stuff. You wanted to be God. I mean, think about it. In the beginning of
Okay.
time, right?
Well,
Everything was
wait.
with
I
God,
wanted to be
right?
God. When
Yeah.
did this happen? I don't ever remember making that choice that I wanted to be a God. I've never ever
Well, I mean, what do you
said
think
that or
everybody down here wants to be?
for me,
We all got
I
desires
don't
to
want
do
to.
something, right?
Well, yeah, we have desires. I don't want to be a God. I just want to live my life. I don't understand how that equates to being a God or wanting to be a God.
Oh, I mean, you're a god amongst ants, right? Feared amongst
Amongst ants,
serpents. I
I
mean,
don't think so. They
there's
don't.
animals.
Ants don't worship me, so I
Yeah,
don't think so.
they don't worship you
I
because
have never seen an ant worship me. I'm just saying, Rihanna. If anything, if anything, I don't even know if they think. I don't even know what they think I am, but I can tell
you
you
think
they
to
don't
be a
worship
god
me.
you have to be worshipped. You have to be worshipped to
Um,
be a god.
no, not necessarily. You're right about that. I'm just saying. Well, I mean, I'm just trying to understand because you said I want to be a god, and what makes you
Yep.
think I want to be a god?
Because you saw. Look at it like this: you're in heaven. You're looking over, and you're watching everybody worshiping God, and you think for just a second, you fall asleep. I wish I was treated like him. Why am I doing this
I
for
have
him? Why
never ever
can't I
thought
be
that.
him?
I've never ever thought that. I've never ever thought, oh, I wish I could be worshipped. I wish I. I've never thought that. I honestly can tell you, I've never ever thought that in
Well,
my
I'll tell
entire
you
life.
what, man.
I
You were
mean,
unique amongst human beings.
look, it's different than saying, yeah, I'd like to be pampered. I'd like to, maybe I can go to a spa and get a massage and all. I don't think that's worship. That's just enjoying something.
Projecting.
Yeah, that's just enjoying something. I don't think that's worship. I don't, because the person giving me a massage isn't worshiping me. They're just doing a job. That's just what they're paid to do. That's the thing is I don't have these things in me. So,
You want people to serve you?
no, not at all.
Like when you go to a
Not
restaurant,
at
you want
all.
people to serve you? Like, are you on it just to be completely ignored?
But that's,
What?
to me, that's a false equivocation because when I sit down at a restaurant and I'm paying for that, it's an exchange. So they're not
Yeah.
doing it freely, you know, that's what I'm paying for. So it is for them to bring me the food instead of it being chaos and I'm going up there standing and waiting. I mean, that's why it's a type of ambiance to the restaurant that you can sit down and relax and enjoy your meal. And 9 times out of 10, I'm eating with somebody. So like with my wife and my kids, and we have family time together, and that prevents anyone from having to prepare the meal and to serve, and to dish out meals and make sure everybody's fed. We paid somebody to do that. That's different than somebody worshiping me because God hasn't paid me for that, or nobody's paid me to do that. That's what I'm trying to get. So
are they obligated to serve you?
No, they're not, because it's a choice. It's absolutely a choice because they choose to be there. So
you got like an unspoken
and you're kind of making my point for me. Yeah, you're kind of making my point for me. It's a contract
agreement. Yeah. So like the Bible, they have a covenant, right? They call it a covenant between God and his people that he chose.
Right.
And you know what he says in that covenant, if they keep the covenant with him, they'll be blessed, right?
Right.
If they break the covenant with him, they'll be cursed.
Okay.
Not only will they be cursed, but the whole earth will be cursed for their sake, right?
Okay. Well, then that would be what this is like. If I walked into the restaurant, Nariana, with my family, and then somebody called you on the phone and said, "Hey, Nariana, Trust But Verifies here. We need you to come serve him. So get your butt over here right now. Get your apron on and come on over here." That's what it would be like. That's not what. And see, that's why I'm saying it's a false equivocation. Because if you're saying there's a covenant, well, to me, that's between whoever wrote the covenant and God. Who the heck were those people who thought that they could represent all of humanity? I wasn't there for that. I didn't sign that. So again, what obligates me to worship God? I did not agree to that.
Oh, you don't have to. I mean, you're not, I guess in that sense, you're not really obligated to worship God. No.
Okay. Then why should I?
No. Why should you?
Why should I? So
it's the same
thing. It's a little less an obligation.
If she does serve you, if she does serve you, right? The waitress, she serves you. She sees a big family, and she's like, "Well, she's expecting." She's looking at the bill. Bill's like $100. She's expecting like a $20 tip, right? So there's for her obligation that she has, this unspoken agreement, this covenant. You guys talked. You didn't really say, "I'm gonna pay you this amount of money if you serve me good." You didn't say that to her. You just came in.
No.
You said you didn't say nothing, right?
Right.
So she's just going to serve you out of the kindness of her heart? No, she's doing that because she expects something, because there's an unspoken agreement that you have between the waitress and, you're about to conduct some business.
Yeah.
Right? There's an agreement there.
Well, honestly, I think you're making my point for me because,
what is your point?
She's getting something in return for that. And so, she's getting, however, obedience. As soon as I leave, obedience. Okay, so it's about obedience. Would you say that's the reason why I should worship a God, is to obey?
Well, I mean, there's the exchange. No, the contract is this: obedience for an agreed upon thing. God says, if you worship, either way, it's going to go how God wants you. But He says in Deuteronomy, if you worship me, if you keep this covenant, which most of the covenant is about not killing people, not hurting people, all simple things, and then keeping one day out of the week to dedicate to resting your body and worshiping God, right? So He's got very, very limited on what He wants you to do. And if you do this, He says He's going to put you above all the nations of the earth.
Okay. Right? So again, I don't recall signing that covenant, number one. And I don't recall asking God to send me down here so I could fulfill that covenant. So that's why I'm asking you.
Let's go back to the restaurant, right? You go to the restaurant, you and your family eat, and you get up, you start walking out, and the waitress tries to grab you. She says, whoa, you got to pay for this. So when did I say I was going to pay for any of this? You walked into the restaurant. You never agreed to make a payment. There's an unspoken contract that you have with the restaurant, right?
Yeah, that all involves.
They're going to provide you a service and food in return for some money, right? Undetermined, right? You're coming in there. You don't know how much they're going to charge you.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Nariana. Did I just poof into the restaurant, or did I choose to walk into the restaurant?
You chose to.
I chose to. Okay. So did I just poof on Earth, or did I choose to be on Earth?
You chose to.
I chose to.
Yep.
How? When did I do that?
Because you desired to have something that you couldn't have there. So
I
now you have a place
desired
to
to
do that.
have something. Okay, when did this happen?
What do you mean? When did it happen?
When did I make that choice?
Like you want a specific date, or you want like I
No,
said,
just tell me.
you're.
No, no.
I'm,
Okay. Well, let me ask you. No, let me take me through. Okay, take me through the steps of exactly how I got here. Step one. Did I make a conscious choice to be here?
yes.
Okay. And how so? Like, where
So
was
that's
I
why I
before
gave
this
you the
happened?
analogy.
So, like, where
So
was
that's
I
why I
before
gave
this
you the
happened?
analogy. That's why I gave you the analogy. You're in heaven, you're watching God be worshipped, and for a second you fall asleep because you're imagining what it would be like if you were worshipped like God.
Okay. Okay.
That's what gets you into the situation where you're at. You have a
Okay.
desire for something that's perverted. It can't exist there, right? You fall asleep. So in that respect, we're all technically in heaven. We've fallen asleep and we're down here living out these mundane lives, like almost imaginary. This is
Okay.
almost an imaginary world,
I can tell you
essentially.
right now. I can tell you right now. Because look, there are a lot of wonderful things here on earth. I'm not gonna, there are a lot of wonderful things. There are a lot of horrible things here. I mean, it's a mixed bag, right?
Oh
That's me.
yeah,
So
agreed.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. Either if I chose to be here, either I got sold a bag of goods, or either that, or because I wouldn't willingly choose to be in a place like this.
Well, what
I'm
the
gonna be
heck are you
honest with
still
you.
doing here? Why are you here right now then? If you don't like it so much, what are you doing still here?
I didn't choose to be
Y'all
here
know
because
how
I'm
to
here
get
to
the
make
heck
the
out of
best
here.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, but you can't make the best of it, right? Because you can't enjoy this world. I mean, I could be rich. When I was in Puerto Rico, I was living in a condo right under Ricky Martin, but I couldn't
Yeah.
enjoy that. I'm
This
looking down
isn't
at the
okay.
street.
All right. Well, I think we got to close this because I'm still not hearing the why, because you tried to equate it to, well, you go to a restaurant, you get served, you're obligated to pay them. That's true because I chose to walk into the restaurant, and now you're trying to tell me I chose to be here. Now, what is your evidence of that? Because we're kind of
Of
making a
that,
whole bunch of truth claims, and we don't have any evidence to back this up. So how did you come to understand this, or how did you figure out this is true?
like I said, you gotta start with submitting to a person that you believe has a relationship with God,
You got to
and
submit to a person you believe that has a relationship with God.
yeah,
Yet
and
earlier
if you
you did
can't
say
see it
it's
in them,
impossible to. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um.
Well, the
All
only
right.
way that you can learn about God is from Him directly, right? Like that's the only way that you're going to learn about Him. That you can make conjectures about what kind of person I am, right? But if you want to know more
Mm-hmm.
about me, either ask me directly or you ask somebody that knows me. My mom will
Mm.
tell you her perspective. My dad will tell you his. Now, those are probably the best people to go and look for evidence on it, right? They have the closest, longest relationship with me. That's why I say,
All
like,
right.
my biggest problem for me with religions is I don't see Jesus in Christians, or I don't see the prophets that they're talking about, what the Bible or what the Vedas or the Lotus Sutra or the Quran. I don't see it in the people who follow it. So it's very hard for me to find somebody to
Mm.
advance with if I can't see, well, that person, they look like they really believe in what they're telling people to do. You know what I mean? So for me
All right.
personally, that's my problem. But
Okay.
but for you, I'd say, man, when you see somebody that you see God in, and it's like nobody you've ever met before, nobody's ever talked to you like that before. That's the person that you should submit to, at least, right?
Mm.
Other than that,
Mm.
man, as far as religion, dude, I'll tell you what, every religion that I've studied, they've all said God's perspective: give up all religions, give up all rituals, and just submit to me. Ignore anything that gets in between me and you. So
All right. We'll
if
leave.
they're true,
All right, man. I appreciate you coming up. We'll leave that as your last word. Appreciate you.
no problem. Oh, you didn't
All
ask
right.
me the
Have.
closing questions you asked the other guy, like why I decided to come up here, or what, or any of those questions. You didn't give me any closing.
Oh, okay. All right.
I
All
took
right. I'll
too
give you
much
one
time,
last
didn't
one.
I?
Yeah, you did. One last one is okay. What was your goal coming up here?
Uh, to to get you to see God in somebody.
Do you
That
think
it
you met
wasn't
that
just
goal?
you out here. That you're not questioning. Yeah, I think I met that goal. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming up. Appreciate it.
Do you think I met that goal?
No,
Not
absolutely not.
even close.
Not even
No.
close. No, but hey, it's
What
worth a
would it
shot, man.
take to? What would it? Okay, so before we leave, what were you trying to? You know, you said you had a goal for this live. What's your goal exactly?
My goal is to explore why people believe what they believe and the how they figured out it's true. And so the method they use to determine its truth. And so when I say method, I say, okay, the first step I did was this. The second step I did was this. The third step I did was this. Fourth step, etc. And then after doing all those steps, I concluded, aha, God is real. And over in almost a year of doing these lives, speaking to over 500, 700 people, and additionally all the people I spoke to in real life, I have yet to find someone who could do that. So here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's depressing.
Yep. Well,
Not
I don't
even
know. I
close.
don't know.
Not one person came
Not
up
even.
with something substantial.
Well, let me put it this way. When I first started these lives, when I first started asking these questions, I was probably about 94, 95% convinced that there was no God. So I'm still at the I don't know, I don't know, therefore I don't believe. Now I'm about 98%.
You're convinced that you're 98% convinced there's no God.
Yep. And I'm not getting any closer because you're saying, hey, go find the person who knows. And I have had many people say, I know the answer. I know. Nope. You're all saying the same thing. What can I say?
So what did I say that led you astray? I guess that made you think that
There are some serious inconsistencies in what you said.
Okay.
First thing you said is it's impossible to believe to know God. It's impossible to know God, and then like not 30 seconds later, you said, so you got to go find somebody who knows God. Yeah, that doesn't line up. That's like saying married bachelor. Go find you a married bachelor. That doesn't make sense. So that's not logical. That's what I'm saying. So I would just say, those two. You do see how those two don't match up, don't line up. So when I hear stuff like that, I just, I'm just like, wait, that doesn't make sense to me. And I got a question and I got to ask about it.
Yeah, of course you got to ask about it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to verify. You can't believe. You got to know.
Trust but verify. That's my name. You got it. So I trust what you say, and I know you believe it. I don't doubt your belief at all. I don't think you're bullshitting me either.
I don't believe in nothing.
Okay, your knowledge, whatever. What I don't doubt what you say you're saying. It's just that if it's not consistent, Oh, and to answer your question, what would it take for me to believe? If you went to 10 VA hospitals and could get one amputee to grow back their limb immediately, that might do it. That would lower my confidence that there is no God.
What?
Yeah, that would do it. That would lower my confidence. That'd probably get me down to like a 90. Now, if you went to every VA hospital and got, say, even 20% of amputees to grow their limbs back immediately, like you prayed to your God and said, because it's for good, it would help that person. It's not in vain. It's not selfish. And I would say that would probably get me to believe. Because what would you say your God is extraordinary, unique, fantastic? Would you say that?
My God?
Yeah, the God you.
My God is the only God. I can't believe that there's anybody that can compete with him to be God, right?
Okay, so that makes him pretty extraordinary. That means there's only one, right? There's not two of them. You don't have twin God running around, right? There's only one. So that makes him pretty extraordinary, would you say? So I would say then that an extraordinary God, for me to believe it, needs extraordinary evidence. Here's an example. Superman in the comic books, pretty extraordinary, right? He can do all kinds of things. He's got the super breath. He's got the eyes. He's got the strength. He can lift buildings. He can do all kinds of stuff, right? Indestructible, except by one thing, kryptonite. However, you pew pew at him, everything bounces off. Nothing can hurt him, right? Now, if he was just, oh, Superman saved me, and he was only just helping people with their taxes, is that extraordinary? No. If he was just saving cats all day, helping people carry out groceries in his big cape and his big blue suit, is that extraordinary? No. What's extraordinary about Superman? The fact that he can lift buildings, he can jump tall buildings in a single bound, he's pew pew proof, he has laser eyes, has the super breath. I'd expect a God to do the same.
Can I put forth an experiment then for you? You can test it yourself, and I guess maybe you can message me on here to give me some of the results. I'm doing the same task at the moment. And what I've been doing is I've been, they're saying that whoever is God, there's some power in his name. So whatever name is actually associated with somebody that has power, if you worship that name, you should be making some leeway to that, right? And a lot of Christians I have this argument with is, if they're worshiping Jesus and they're not worshiping Yeshua, or more specifically his father Yahweh, are they making any advances in Christianity if they don't even know the name of the God that they're worshiping? So we know that the big five is Christianity is the biggest one. Their God is named Yahweh. In India, their God is named Krishna. In Muslims, it's Allah. Are you willing to worship, I say, for 7 days, each one of those, and see which one gets the most results?
No, because I'm not willing to do that. And the reason why is because how do you worship something you don't believe in?
Exactly. So he'd have to come directly to you. He would have to make a revelation specifically on you. It would have to be something that you witness firsthand for you to have, the desire to pursue that God.
Well, a lot of the people I've talked to said that that's what's happened, that God personally talked to me. Guy I talked to yesterday said God has revealed truths to me. He has spoken to me in my mind. He showed me that I was being a traitor to him because I've been collecting silver, and he showed me the 30 pieces of silver that I've collected. This was just yesterday. So if God can give them signs and signals, another guy said to me that he's spoken directly to guardian angels, and that he's been giving all the truths of the universe, and that he's here. His purpose is to spread this so that people don't go astray and go wrong and all this other stuff.
Dude,
another
we
person
all want to
said
be
to
special,
me,
don't we?
and another person said to me that they're an apex guardian angel from a different realm. So this is what I'm asking you is, if God has come to all these people, why couldn't God just come to me?
Do you want him to come to you?
Sure. If you did that thing, if you went to all the VA hospitals, and even 20% of the amputees grew their limbs back immediately, I would believe it right now. If God gave me a sign and it was undeniable, I would believe right now. Now, ultimately, God knows what's in my heart and mind, right? So that means that God would know exactly what it would take to convince me. And I would do it right now. Right now. People have prayed for me. My mother is still devoutly Catholic, goes to church every day, 84 years old, still goes to church every day. She prays for me every day, probably extremely disappointed I didn't join the priesthood. Still prays for me every day. I'm still atheist.
Have you ever tested her? I mean, do you think she really believes, or is she just putting up a show to keep up appearances?
Well, I don't want to get into all that. I think if people say they believe, they believe. If people say they believe, they believe. But I've had people on my lives pray for me. So, and how am I supposed to know which ones really believe and which ones don't? Is it because I still don't believe? I mean, hey, everybody in chat, pray for me right now. Everybody pray for me right now.
Listen, the Bible don't
There's
say
got to be at
nothing
least
about
one
praying
people.
for. The Bible don't require you to pray for nobody but to God.
They don't require you to pray for nobody.
Listen, if you need them to pray for you, that means that the only way for you to go to God is through them. through their
Well,
prayers.
then, if that's the case, then that kind of goes back to my point. Because if you're saying I'm not saying I need someone to pray. I don't need anybody to pray for me, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll
What
be
I'm
honest, I'm not going to pray for you.
that's okay,
I
and
love you. I
I'm
still
not
love you, but I'm
offended.
not going to pray for you.
I'm not offended in the least bit. And you know what? In my mind, I actually prefer that because I think you'd be wasting your time. So,
Well, I'm
it's
saying that I'm better
it's a
than you.
benefit for everybody.
I'm saying that I'm better than you. That I have some kind of divinity
Okay.
that you don't have. That's going to get you to God. That I don't have that. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm equal with you, man. Listen, that's why I don't pray for nobody. I pray to God, and I don't let nobody
Okay.
know about me praying. I don't really feel comfortable telling you that I even pray. But what I'm saying is my form of prayer is meditation. I believe that there's nothing that I need outside of my body to communicate with God. If I'm created inside of me, in my heart, in my soul, is a part and parcel of God. And if I can communicate with that's my religion. All right, that's my religion right there.
Okay, serious question. And and when I ask this question, there's no conditions tied to it at all. So I don't want any conditions or anything like that. So I want to make this as easy as a yes or no.
Okay.
Do you believe that if you really needed something or wanted something, really needed or wanted, however you want to describe it, and you prayed for it, do you believe that God would deliver it?
Heck no. And I'll give you an example. I asked for more money one time, and God took the little bit of money that I had. And he was like, that's what I'm thinking. Like I was making $25 an hour, and I said, man, if I could just make like $40 an hour, I'd be doing good. I lost that job, and the next day I got a call the next day. I'm like, so when you say obedience, dude, listen, right now I'm in dire straits right now, but like when I see somebody that says, they need one person to give them, I don't know, hope. I'm not going to tell you to believe in nothing, dude. I'll be honest with you. Don't believe in anything that you can't prove.
Okay.
I'm going to give you some hope that there's some people out there that, regardless of me being able to believe in anything, I know that there is something in here in my heart and my soul that is going to live past this body. Right? This body is going to die.
Okay.
And there's something in here that is going to speak to me eventually, the more that I, press upon it. And what the problem is? I don't have the keys to open that knowledge, right? I wouldn't be able to understand even if I did, right? Essentially, if what I'm saying about God is true, that he's unimaginably absurd, like he's unimaginable. So that's why I'm saying, like, you got to find somebody that makes you feel that kind of way. Don't like, I'm going to church. I've actually stopped going to church because they started speaking in tongues, and my first question is, what language you speaking in? Let's verify this by the book. What language you speaking in? What is it supposed to mean? Is there anybody here that knows this? Did they even know what the Pentecost in the Bible really was talking about? Like, and that's the problem that I have personally. Like, do I believe that I can, did I believe I can connect with Christians and I can go to the house of God and feel something? Yeah. But my biggest problem is the people the congregation. It's like, I don't want to go to some place where somebody I know is faking. Like, I'm watching them, they're peeking over to see who's looking at them on the floor. Like, you know what I mean? That's not my, I don't go in for fakeness. I want to feel some realness. I want to know that there's authenticity in it. And I judge everything by that. That's like, if you don't see God in them, walk away.
All right. Well, we're way over time. But I would like to invite you back for another. I think this was a good discussion. Now, people are saying it's a debate. I don't think it was a debate. I think it was a good discussion. Maybe a little spirited at times, but I think it was a good discussion.
It was a debate. Yeah. You put up some tough arguments, though.
Yeah, that's what I do. So if I'd love to have you back, because I'd like to explore further, like what you just brought up about the feeling. You feel something. So I'd like to just explore that next time, if you're okay with that. Just come on back another day, and we'll talk about it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right on, Ariana. All right. Hey, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you taking time with me. I really do appreciate it.
No problem.
It was a good talk.
Enjoy yourself,
all right,
sir.
You have a good day. Take care.